The shuttle descended through purple clouds toward the surface of Vraxis Prime. Inside, Han Jiwoo pressed her face against the window and watched the alien world grow larger. Her hands trembled slightly. This was her first mission as a real diplomat, and she was meeting one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Captain Park Doyen sat beside her, reviewing data on his tablet. He was older, with gray hair at his temples and worry lines around his eyes. He had done this many times before, but even he looked nervous today. "Remember the briefing," Park said quietly. "The Talvarians respect strength. Stand tall, don't show fear. And whatever you do, don't smile at them." "Why not?" Jiwoo asked. "They see it as baring teeth." "A threat display," Park explained. "Their species doesn't smile. They think it means we're about to attack." Jiwoo nodded and tried to calm her breathing. Behind them, Chief Security Officer Kang Yuna checked her weapons one more time. The older woman caught Jiwoo's eye and gave her a small nod of encouragement. The shuttle landed with a soft thump. The rear door opened and hot air rushed inside. It smelled strange, like copper and burning stone. Jiwoo followed Captain Park down the ramp onto red soil. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. 50 Talvarian warriors stood in perfect formation. Each one was over 8 feet tall, covered in black scales that gleamed like polished stone. Sharp bone ridges jutted from their shoulders and spines. Their faces were long and angular, with too many teeth visible even when their mouths were closed. Yellow eyes tracked every movement the humans made. Behind the warriors, massive beasts paced back and forth on thick chains. They looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard with 6 legs and armored heads. They snarled and snapped at the air, eager for violence. At the front of the formation stood the largest Talvarian of all. General Thraxkor wore armor made from the bones of creatures Jiwoo couldn't identify. Scars covered his visible scales. He radiated danger like heat from a fire. Park stepped forward and bowed slightly. "General Thraxkor, thank you for receiving us. Humanity wishes to establish peaceful relations between our peoples." The general's lips pulled back, showing rows of serrated teeth. "Peaceful relations," he rumbled. His voice sounded like grinding rocks. "I have reviewed your species' data. You have soft skin, weak bones, no natural weapons. You are prey pretending to be equals." Park's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice calm. "We may look different, General, but appearances can be deceiving. Humanity has survived and thrived despite our physical limitations." "Survived?" Thraxkor stepped closer. He towered over Park. "You survived because no true predator found you. The galaxy is full of prey species who think they are clever. Then they meet the Talvarian Empire, and they learn their place." "We're not looking for conflict," Park said firmly. "We're looking for mutual cooperation." "There is no cooperation between predator and prey," Thraxkor declared. "There is only dominance and submission. You will prove your worth in ritual combat, or you will accept vassal status under the Empire." Kang Yuna moved her hand toward her weapon. Every Talvarian warrior noticed. They shifted their stance, ready for battle. The chained beasts roared and strained against their bonds. Jiwoo felt her heart pounding. This was going wrong. Very wrong. They had come in peace, but the Talvarians only understood violence. "General, please," Park began. "Let us find another way." A high-pitched screech interrupted him. Everyone turned toward the sound. One of the chained beasts had broken free, but it wasn't attacking. Instead, something small and fast had darted out from behind the warriors. A Talvarian cub, no bigger than a large dog, was running straight toward the humans. The cub had the same black scales as the adults, but they were softer, shinier. Its bone ridges were just small bumps. Its teeth were tiny but sharp. It bounded forward on 4 legs, making excited growling sounds. "Rix!" "No!" Thraxkor shouted, but the cub didn't stop. It was heading directly for Jiwoo. Kang Yuna moved to intercept, but Jiwoo was faster. Without thinking, she dropped to one knee and held out her hand. "Jiwoo, don't!" Park yelled. The cub skidded to a stop 3 feet away. It lowered its head and growled, trying to sound fierce. Its little tail lashed back and forth. It was trying to be intimidating, trying to prove it was a predator. Jiwoo looked at the cub and felt something unexpected. Not fear. Something else entirely. It was adorable. She smiled. Not the careful, diplomatic smile she had practiced. Not the nervous smile of someone trying to appear friendly. A real, genuine smile of delight. The kind of smile you give when you see a puppy or a kitten doing something cute. "Hey there, little one," she said softly. "Aren't you fierce?" The cub's growl faltered. It tilted its head, confused. Its tail stopped lashing. Behind her, Jiwoo heard a strange sound. Like 50 people all gasping at once. She glanced back and froze. Every single Talvarian warrior had taken a step backward. Their yellow eyes were wide. Some had their mouths hanging open. The chained beasts had gone completely silent, staring at her. General Thraxkor stood rigid, his hand on his weapon but not drawing it. He was staring at Jiwoo like she had just grown a second head. The cub chirped and took a step closer to Jiwoo. Then another. It sniffed her outstretched hand carefully. "That's right," Jiwoo said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you. You're just a baby, aren't you?" The cub made a sound somewhere between a purr and a growl. It bumped its head against her palm. Jiwoo carefully scratched behind the small bone ridge on its head. The cub's eyes closed halfway. Its tail started to wag. "Impossible," Thraxkor whispered. Jiwoo looked up at him, still smiling. "I'm sorry. Is something wrong?" The general couldn't seem to form words. A female Talvarian in elaborate robes rushed forward and grabbed the cub, pulling it away from Jiwoo. The cub protested, trying to squirm back toward the human. "Forgive the interruption," the female said quickly. Her voice shook. The youngling escaped his keeper. "It won't happen again." She hurried away with the struggling cub. But every warrior was still staring at Jiwoo. The way they looked at her had changed. Before they had looked at her like prey. Now they looked at her like something they couldn't understand. Something that made their predator instincts scream warnings they had never heard before. Park helped Jiwoo to her feet. "What just happened?" he whispered. "I don't know," Jiwoo admitted. "I just smiled at the cub." Thraxkor finally found his voice. "This meeting is over. Return to your ship now." "But General," Park began. "Now," Thraxkor roared, but his eyes never left Jiwoo. "We will contact you tomorrow. Go." As the humans retreated to their shuttle, Jiwoo looked back once. The Talvarian warriors were talking rapidly among themselves. Some gestured at her. Others shook their heads in disbelief. And far in the back she could see the cub still struggling to get free, still trying to reach her. The shuttle door closed. As they lifted off, Kang Yuna turned to Jiwoo. "What you did down there," she said slowly. "That wasn't in any training manual." Park was pale. "I've been doing this for 20 years. I've never seen anything like that." "Did you see their faces?" "They were terrified." "Terrified?" Jiwoo repeated. "But why? It was just a baby." "I don't know," Park said. "But something tells me we just changed everything." As Vraxis Prime shrank below them, Jiwoo touched the hand that had petted the cub. She could still feel its scales, warm and surprisingly soft. She could still see those yellow eyes looking up at her with confusion and curiosity instead of fear, and she wondered what it meant that the galaxy's most feared warriors had taken a step back from one unarmed human woman who had done nothing but smile. The message came 6 hours after the humans returned to their ship. General Thraxkor wanted to meet again, but this time he requested only Jiwoo. No weapons. No guards, just her. Captain Park refused at first. "Absolutely not. We don't know what they want. It could be a trap." But Jiwoo felt something different in the message. Not hostility, curiosity. "I think they want to understand what happened," she said. "And honestly, so do I." "You smiled at a baby," Kang Yuna said. "Why would that scare them?" Lee Heji, the cultural anthropologist, was frantically searching through data files. "I'm missing something. There has to be an explanation in their culture. Just give me time." In the end, Jiwoo went down to the surface again. This time, only a single shuttle. Only her and the pilot. The meeting place was different. Instead of the military compound, she was taken to a building that looked like a library or museum. The halls were carved from red stone and decorated with weapons from ancient wars. A Talvarian female waited for her inside. She was smaller than Thraxkor, her scales a deep bronze instead of black. She wore robes instead of armor and carried books instead of weapons. "I am Scholar Velmora," the Talvarian said. Her voice was softer than the general's, but still rough like sandpaper. "Thank you for coming, human Jiwoo." "Just Jiwoo is fine," she replied. "Why did you want to see me?" "To understand," Velmora said simply. She gestured to a table where food and drink had been laid out. "Please sit. I have many questions." They sat across from each other. Velmora poured liquid from a stone pitcher into 2 cups. "This is safe for humans to drink." We checked your biological data. Jiwoo sipped carefully. It tasted like bitter tea mixed with smoke. Not pleasant, but not horrible. Tell me about your world, Velmora said. About Earth. What do you want to know? Everything. Velmora pulled out a tablet and began typing. Start with your planet's classification. What class of world is it? Jiwoo had memorized this information during training. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world by the Galactic Survey. Velmora's claws stopped moving. Class 12? That's impossible. Class 12 worlds are too dangerous for complex life. And yet here I am, Jiwoo said with a small smile. The scholar leaned forward. Describe your planet's dangers. Jiwoo thought about how to begin. Well, we have predators. Lots of them. Big ones. How big? Some can weigh over 1,000 pounds. Lions, tigers, bears. They hunt in our territories. Some of them hunt humans. Velmora's eyes widened. You evolved alongside multiple apex predators? We did, Jiwoo confirmed. And we weren't the strongest. We couldn't run the fastest. We didn't have the sharpest teeth or claws. We survived because we were smart and we worked together. What happened to these predators? Did you exterminate them? Some species went extinct, yes. But not all. Many still exist. We actually protect them now. Protect them? Velmora looked confused. Why would prey protect predators? Because they're part of our world's ecosystem. They're beautiful and important. And honestly, Jiwoo pulled out her phone and showed pictures. Many humans think they're cute. The photos showed lions lounging in the sun, tiger cubs playing, and bears catching fish. Velmora stared at them for a long time. You think predators are cute? Some of them, yes. Especially the babies. Jiwoo swiped to more photos. These are pets. Animals we keep in our homes. This is a dog. This is a cat. Both are descended from predators. Dogs from wolves, cats from wild hunters. You domesticated predators? Velmora's voice rose. You brought them into your homes? Near your young? Of course. They're family. This is my sister's dog, Barum. He sleeps in bed with her children. Velmora stood up and paced. Her tail lashed back and forth. This explains nothing. This makes it worse. How can a prey species domesticate predators? I think you're misunderstanding, Jiwoo said carefully. Humans aren't exactly prey. We're omnivores. We hunt too. You hunt? Velmora turned back to her. What do you hunt? Everything. Fish, birds, deer, boar. Our ancestors hunted mammoths, which were massive creatures with tusks and thick hides. We hunted them to extinction. How? What weapons did you use? Spears at first. Later, bows and arrows. But our greatest weapon was persistence. We would track an animal for days, sometimes weeks. We would chase it until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then we would kill it. Velmora sat down slowly. You persistence hunt? Yes. Humans can run longer than almost any other species on Earth. We can control our body temperature through sweating. We can suppress pain through willpower. We can keep going long after other creatures give up. That's a nightmare, Velmora whispered. You're the thing that never stops coming, Jiwoo frowned. I never thought of it that way. The scholar typed rapidly on her tablet. Tell me more. Tell me about your wars. Our wars? Jiwoo felt uncomfortable. That's a dark subject, I must understand. The Talvarians built our empire through war. We respect martial prowess above all else. Tell me how humans fight. So Jiwoo told her. She explained human history, the wars that had shaped their species. She talked about tactics and strategies, about guerrilla warfare and total war, about soldiers who fought when surrounded, who refused to surrender even when defeat was certain. We have a saying, Jiwoo said quietly. Humans don't die easily, and we don't die alone. What does that mean? It means that even when we're losing, we make the enemy pay for every inch of ground. It means we'll sacrifice ourselves to save others. It means we remember our dead and fight harder to honor them. Velmora was silent for a long time. Finally she asked, and yesterday? With young Rix? You showed no fear. You smiled. Why? Because he wasn't a threat, Jiwoo said simply. He was just a child. A baby trying to act tough. I've seen puppies do the same thing. They growl and bark, but their tails wag. They're playing at being fierce. It's adorable. Adorable, Velmora repeated the word like it was foreign. You saw a young predator displaying aggression and you found it endearing? Yes, because I knew he couldn't actually hurt me, and even if he tried, I would just move away. There was no danger, so there was no reason to be afraid. Every warrior there saw danger, Velmora said. Every instinct told them to protect the young. But you smiled. Do you understand what that meant to them? No, Jiwoo admitted. I don't. Velmora stood and walked to the window. Talvarians evolved as the apex predators of our world. We had no natural enemies, no competition. We learned that strength means survival, fear means respect. When young Rix approached you, every warrior expected you to flee or fight. Those are the only two responses prey should have. But I'm not prey, Jiwoo said. Exactly. Velmora turned back to her. You're something we've never encountered. You're prey that thinks like a predator that shows mercy like prey. You're soft and weak and vulnerable, yet you survived a Class 12 death world. You smile before violence and smile after friendship using the same expression. You bond with predators and make them love you. You are contradiction made flesh, is that bad? It's terrifying, Velmora said bluntly. Because we cannot predict you. Our instincts tell us you're prey, but your behavior tells us you're something far more dangerous. You made 50 warriors take a step back without showing a single weapon. Do you understand how impossible that is? Jiwoo thought about it. I think I'm beginning to. The general wants to meet again tomorrow. He will bring young Rix. The cub has been crying for you since yesterday. He refuses to eat. He only wants the human who smiled at him. He imprinted on me? Jiwoo asked, surprised. We don't know. This has never happened before. A Talvarian youth bonding with an alien? With prey? Velmora shook her head. You've changed something fundamental. Every warrior is questioning what they know about strength and weakness. Some are afraid. Others are curious. All of them are watching to see what happens next. Back on the ship, Jiwoo found Lee Hyeji waiting for her. I found it, Hyeji said excitedly. I found what makes the Talvarians so afraid. Tell me. They evolved without competition. They were always the strongest thing on their planet. Their entire psychology is built on dominance hierarchies. Everything is predator or prey, strong or weak. There's no middle ground. And we're the middle ground, Jiwoo realized exactly. We're prey that hunts. Predators that show mercy. Weak creatures that survive by being smart instead of strong. We break every rule they understand about how the universe works. What does that mean for the negotiations? Hyeji smiled. It means they're more scared of us than we are of them. And fear can lead to respect if we handle this right. Jiwoo looked out at the planet below. Somewhere down there, a small cub was crying for her, and an entire empire was trying to understand how prey became predators, and predators learned to smile. The third meeting happened in a grand hall carved from black stone. This time, even more Talvarians were present. They lined the walls, watching silently with their yellow eyes. At the far end of the hall sat someone new. She was ancient. Her scales had faded from black to gray, and deep scars covered her body like a map of old battles. She wore a crown made from bones and sat on a throne that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of volcanic rock. That's Empress Craven, Velmora whispered to Jiwoo. Thraxcor's mother. She rules the entire Talvarian Empire. She's over 300 years old. Jiwoo felt her mouth go dry. The most powerful being in this part of the galaxy was staring directly at her. General Thraxcor stood beside the throne. At his feet, young Rix paced back and forth, making anxious sounds. The moment the cub saw Jiwoo, he tried to run to her. Thraxcor caught him by the scruff of his neck. Human Jiwoo, the Empress said. Her voice was ancient and powerful, like an earthquake speaking. Approach! Jiwoo walked forward. Every step echoed in the massive hall. She stopped 10 feet from the throne and bowed, unsure of the proper protocol. My grandson's child has bonded with you, Craven said. This is unprecedented. In our culture, when a youth bonds with someone outside the family line, it carries great significance. It means the youth recognizes them as worthy, as family. I didn't mean to cause any problems, Jiwoo said carefully. Problems? The Empress laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Child, you've done something impossible. You've made a Talvarian youth choose an alien over his own blood. This cannot be ignored, Thraxcor stepped forward. Our law is clear. When such a bond forms, the outsider must prove their worth through the bonding trials. 3 tests to determine if they deserve a place in our clan. And if I refuse? Jiwoo asked. Then Rix must be disciplined until he forgets you, Craven said coldly. That discipline would break his spirit. Or you can face the trials. If you succeed, you become part of our clan. If you fail, humanity will be marked as prey species, unworthy of equal standing. Jiwoo felt her stomach drop. The weight of humanity's future suddenly rested on her shoulders. She thought about refusing, about explaining that this was all a misunderstanding. But then she looked at Rix. The cub was staring at her with hopeful eyes, his tail wagging slightly. "What are the trials?" she asked. Craven smiled, showing teeth. "The hunt, the feast, the bond. You have 1 day to prepare. Bring whatever advisors you wish. But you alone must face the trials." Back on the ship, Captain Park was furious. "This is madness. You're not a warrior, Jiwoo. You're a diplomat." "I don't think I have a choice," she said quietly. Baek Soo-hyun, the xenopsychologist, was more optimistic. "Actually, I think this might work in our favor. The trials are about proving worth, not about winning fights. Let me research their exact nature." For the next day, the entire crew worked to prepare Jiwoo. Kang Yuna taught her basic self-defense. Lee Hae-ji briefed her on Talvarian customs. Baek Soo-hyun analyzed every piece of data they had on the trials. "The key is balance," Soo-hyun explained. "If you succeed too easily, they'll be terrified. If you fail completely, we're done. You need to show human capability without making them fear us." "No pressure then," Jiwoo muttered. The next day came too quickly. Jiwoo returned to the surface wearing simple clothes and carrying nothing but a water bottle and a small pack of supplies. The first trial took place in a dense forest outside the city. Hundreds of Talvarians gathered to watch. Thraxkor explained the rules. The Vural is a native predator. 6 legs, armored hide, venomous bite. Your task is simple. Track it, capture it, and return it here alive. You have until sunset. You may use any method you choose. A gate opened and a creature bounded out. It looked like a cross between a monitor lizard and a wolf, with thick scales and long claws. It was fast, disappearing into the trees within seconds. "Begin," Thraxkor announced. Jiwoo didn't chase after it immediately. Instead, she studied the ground where it had run. She found tracks in the soft dirt and broken branches where it had pushed through. Then she started walking. The Talvarians murmured in confusion. Why wasn't she running? Why wasn't she hunting? But Jiwoo knew something they didn't. She didn't need to run. She just needed to not stop. For 6 hours, she followed the Vural's trail. The creature would sprint ahead, thinking it had escaped. Then it would rest. When it sensed her approaching, it would run again. This happened over and over. Jiwoo's legs ached. Her mouth was dry, but she kept walking, 1 foot in front of the other. Never stopping, never giving up. The Talvarian observers followed at a distance, watching in silence. Slowly, they began to understand what they were seeing. The Vural was getting tired. Its sprints became shorter. Its rest periods became longer. It was panting heavily, its tongue hanging out. It kept looking back, seeing the humans still coming, always coming. Finally, as the sun touched the horizon, the Vural collapsed. It was too exhausted to run anymore. Jiwoo walked up to it carefully. The creature tried to bite her, but its movements were weak and slow. She pulled out a net from her pack and wrapped the Vural carefully. It barely struggled. Then she picked it up, nearly staggering under its weight, and carried it back to the starting point. The Talvarians stared in silence. Jiwoo set the Vural down in front of Thraxkor. The creature was alive but defeated, broken not by violence but by endurance. "Trial 1 complete," the Empress announced, but her voice sounded uncertain. The second trial began immediately. Servants brought out the Vural's body. It had been killed and butchered. They placed a large piece of raw meat on a stone table. "The feast," Craven explained. "You must consume the flesh of your prey while maintaining eye contact with me. If you look away, you fail. If you cannot eat, you fail." Jiwoo looked at the raw meat. It was still bloody, still warm. The thought of eating it made her stomach turn. But she had eaten sushi back home. She had tried steak tartare. Raw meat wasn't completely foreign to humans. She picked up the meat with her hands. The Talvarians leaned forward, watching intently. Jiwoo locked eyes with the Empress and took a bite. It was tough and gamey, and the taste of blood filled her mouth. But she chewed and swallowed, never breaking eye contact. Then she took another bite. And another. The Empress's eyes widened slightly. "You do not fear the raw flesh? Humans eat raw meat sometimes," Jiwoo said between bites. "We call it sushi or tartare. We prefer cooked food, but raw is fine too. But you have fire. You have technology. Why eat raw meat?" Jiwoo swallowed another bite. "Because sometimes it tastes good. Because we want to. We don't just eat to survive, Empress. We eat for pleasure." The implications settled over the watching Talvarians like a cold wind. Humans hunted not just for food. They hunted for enjoyment. That was the behavior of true apex predators. Trial 2 complete, Craven said slowly. The third trial was the simplest, but somehow the most important. They brought out young Rix. The cub chirped excitedly when he saw Jiwoo, his tail wagging furiously. The bond, Thraxcor announced. You must demonstrate control over young Rix without violence. Make him obey your commands. Show us you are worthy of his loyalty. Jiwoo knelt down and smiled at Rix. The cub bounded over to her, jumping up and trying to lick her face. She laughed and scratched behind his head ridges. Sit, she said firmly. Rix tilted his head, confused. Jiwoo gently pushed his bottom down until he was sitting. Sit, she repeated. Then she pulled out a piece of dried meat from her pack and gave it to him. Good boy. For the next 20 minutes, Jiwoo taught Rix basic commands: sit, stay, come. Each time he obeyed, she rewarded him with treats and praise. Each time he disobeyed, she simply didn't give him the treat and tried again. The Talvarians watched their future warrior, their proud predator cub, performing tricks for a human. They watched him sit when she pointed down. They watched him come when she called. They watched him stay frozen in place, trembling with the effort of controlling himself. Just because she had told him to wait, and they watched Rix look at Jiwoo with absolute adoration, with complete trust, with love. When Jiwoo finally said, okay, you're done, Rix leaped into her arms, making happy sounds. She held him and stroked his scales while he purred like a giant scaly cat. The silence in the hall was absolute. Finally, Empress Craven stood up. The trials are complete. Human Jiwoo has passed all 3 tests. Cheering erupted from some of the Talvarians. Others simply stared in shock. The Empress descended from her throne and approached Jiwoo. You have earned a place in our clan. From this day forward, you are blood of our blood. Young Rix is now your ward as much as ours. She placed a clawed hand on Jiwoo's shoulder. Then she leaned close and whispered so only Jiwoo could hear. I have ruled for 3 centuries. I have conquered 17 systems. I've never seen anything that frightened me until today. You are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. Not because you are strong, but because you make predators love you. That is a power beyond weapons. Jiwoo looked up at the ancient empress. We don't want to be your enemies. I know, Craven said. That's what makes you terrifying. You choose mercy when you could choose violence. That means you're confident, you daters. They are something we never imagined. And from this day forward, they are our allies. Rix chirped happily in Jiwoo's arms. Cummy. 3 months after the bonding trials, diplomatic progress was steady but fragile. Jiwoo had become the official liaison between humanity and the Talvarian Empire. Young Rix spent half his time with her on the human ship, learning and growing. The cub had nearly doubled in size and was beginning to develop his adult scales, but not everyone was happy with the new alliance. Lord Crixen commanded the Talvarian border fleets. He was old, scarred, and deeply traditional. He believed in Talvarian superiority above all else. To him, the alliance with humanity was a mistake, a weakness that would destroy the empire. Prey is prey, he told his officers in secret meetings. It doesn't matter if they passed some trials. It doesn't matter if they can make cubs obey. In real combat, they will break. They will run. And we will be proven right. He began planning a test. Nothing that could be called an act of war. Just a military exercise near human space. Some aggressive maneuvers. Some weapon locks. Enough to make the humans show their true nature. When Earth learned about the incoming Talvarian fleet, they responded quickly. Admiral Yun Taeyang was dispatched with 15 ships. He was a veteran of the Belt Wars, a man who had seen real combat and survived. He had gray hair, steady hands, and eyes that had seen too much death. Captain Park briefed him on the Talvarians. They respect strength, Admiral, but they're testing us. How we respond will determine everything. So if we run, we're prey, Yun said. If we attack, we're aggressors. What do they expect us to do? I think, Jiwoo said carefully, they expect us to posture, to flex our muscles and try to look dangerous, like animals do before a fight. And if we do that, then we're playing by their rules. We need to do something they don't expect. The 2 fleets met at the border of Talvarian space. Crixen's ships were massive and decorated with kill marks from previous battles. They bristled with weapons. They looked like flying fortresses built for war. The human ships were smaller, sleeker. They looked almost fragile compared to the Talvarian dreadnoughts. Crixen smiled when he saw them. As I thought, Prey species with prey ships. He ordered his ships into an aggressive formation, weapons powered but not locked. The human ships maintained their position without moving. No response, his tactical officer reported. They're just holding formation. Move closer, Crixon ordered. Let's see how much pressure they can take. The Talvirian ships advanced. Closer, closer. They were now well within firing range. Any other species would have either retreated or returned the aggression. The human ships did neither. They just maintained their formation, shields up but weapons cold. Sir, they're broadcasting something, the communications officer said. Data files. They're sending us videos. Videos? What kind of videos? Historical records. From Earth, they're showing us their wars. Crixon pulled up the files on his command screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. Humans fighting humans. Massive wars across their entire planet. Weapons that could level cities. Battles that lasted years. He watched soldiers fighting in frozen trenches and burning jungles and ruined cities. He watched them fight when outnumbered. He watched them fight when surrounded. He watched them fight until they couldn't stand, and then keep fighting on their knees. One video showed a human military doctrine called mutually assured destruction. The concept was simple. If you destroy us, we'll make sure you die too. Humans had built enough nuclear weapons to kill everything on their planet multiple times over, just to ensure no one could win if war started. This is propaganda, Crixon said. Computer simulations meant to scare us. Sir, the data authenticates. These are real historical records, and there's more. They're sending files on their current military doctrine. The files detailed human tactics, guerrilla warfare, psychological operations, asymmetric warfare. The humans didn't fight fair. They fought smart. They would retreat today to win tomorrow. They would sacrifice one unit to save 10. They would lose every battle and still win the war through attrition. And there was something else. A concept called total war. When humans fought, they didn't just use their military. They used everything. Every factory became a weapons plant. Every civilian became a potential soldier. Every resource was dedicated to victory. They didn't just fight to win. They fought to ensure the enemy couldn't fight again. Another file coming through, the communications officer said. This one is about Earth's animals. Kim Nari appeared on the screen. She was young and enthusiastic, a marine biologist who loved her subject. Hello, Talvirian friends. Ambassador Jiwoo thought you might be interested in learning about Earth's apex predators. She showed footage of orcas hunting seals. These are called killer whales. They're the ocean's top predator. They hunt in coordinated packs. They have complex languages and pass knowledge down through generations. They hunt sharks for fun. The video showed a great white shark, supposedly one of Earth's most feared predators, being killed and eaten by orcas. Now here's the interesting part, Nari continued. Humans swim with these creatures. We study them. We protect them. These are their smaller cousins, dolphins. Humans train them. Play with them. Consider them friends. More footage showed humans in the water with dolphins, with whales, with creatures that could easily kill them. And this is even better, Nari said with excitement. These are the great white sharks we mentioned. Some humans enjoy getting into the water with them. They call it cage diving. They do it for fun. The footage showed humans in metal cages voluntarily lowering themselves into waters filled with massive sharks. The predators circled the cages, mouths full of teeth. The humans inside were laughing and taking pictures. Crixon felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Genuine uncertainty. More data incoming, his officer reported. Biological information about humans themselves. The files detailed human physiology, their endurance, their ability to survive in extreme environments, their capacity to suppress pain through willpower. One document explained how human soldiers had continued fighting with injuries that would kill most species. Another showed a human concept called playing dead. Some humans had survived predator attacks by controlling their fear response so completely that they could lie motionless while being bitten, waiting for the predator to lose interest. They can control their prey instincts, Crixon whispered. They can choose to show fear or not show fear. What kind of prey species can do that? A final video appeared. It showed Earth from space, a beautiful blue and green world. Then Jiwoo's voice spoke. Lord Crixon, I know you're testing us. I know you want to see if we'll run or fight. But I want you to understand something. Humans don't fight because we want to. We fight because we're very good at it, and sometimes it's necessary. Every species on our planet that tried to make prey of humans is either extinct, domesticated, or hiding from us. We didn't just survive our world. We conquered it. The image changed to show Earth's cities at night blazing with light. We turned a Class 12 death world into a garden. We made predators into pets. We went from prey to the single dominant species on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. And we did it not through individual strength but through cooperation, intelligence, and refusal to give up. Jiwoo appeared on screen now, with Rix curled up in her lap. The young Talvarian was purring, completely relaxed. You want to know what we'll do if you attack? We'll do what we always do. We'll survive. We'll adapt. We'll win eventually. But here's what you need to understand. We don't want to win. We want to be friends. That's not weakness, Lord Crixon. That's strength. It means we're confident enough in our ability to survive that we can choose mercy instead. The transmission ended. Crixon sat in silence, staring at the human fleet. They still hadn't moved. They hadn't powered weapons. They hadn't retreated. They had just sent information and waited. Sir, what are your orders? His tactical officer asked. For a long time, Crixon said nothing. He thought about what he'd seen. Humans who fought wars with weapons that could destroy their own world. Humans who trained themselves to suppress fear. Humans who made the ocean's apex predators perform tricks. Humans who survived by outlasting everything that tried to kill them. And most importantly, humans who could do all of that, but chose to smile and offer friendship instead. Stand down, he said finally. Return to standard formation. Open a channel to the human fleet. When Admiral Yoon appeared on screen, Crixon bowed his head slightly. It was a gesture of respect he had never given to another species. Admiral, I apologize for our aggressive approach. It was a test. You passed. How did we pass, Lord Crixon? Yoon asked calmly. By not playing the game. By showing us your strength without threatening us. By teaching instead of posturing. He paused. I thought humans were prey pretending to be predators. I was wrong. You're predators who choose to be gentle. That's far more frightening. Back on Jiwoo's ship, Rix chirped happily, unaware of how close two civilizations had come to war, and how far away they had stepped. 1 year had passed since the first meeting on Vraxis Prime. The galaxy looked different now. The alliance between humanity and the Talvarian Empire had shocked every other civilization. Two species that should have been enemies had become partners, and no one quite understood how it had happened. Jiwoo stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic station orbiting Vraxis Prime. She was no longer a junior diplomat. She was now the official ambassador, representing humanity to the entire Talvarian Empire. Beside her, Rix lay on the floor, no longer a small cub, but a young adult nearly as tall as her shoulder. He still followed her everywhere. Ambassador, the shuttle is ready, Velmora said. The scholar had become Jiwoo's closest Talvarian friend over the past year. Lee Junho wants to show you the new agricultural zones. They took a shuttle down to the planet's surface, to a valley that had once been a military training ground. Now it was filled with crops. Green plants grew in neat rows, something that had never existed on Vraxis before. Lee Junho waited for them, his hands dirty from working in the soil. He was an agricultural specialist who had volunteered to teach the Talvarians about farming. Look at this, he said excitedly, pointing to a field of grain. They said it wouldn't grow in the volcanic soil, but we adjusted the composition and it's thriving. The first harvest will feed 50,000 Talvarians. A group of young Talvarians worked in the field, learning to tend the crops. They moved carefully, unused to this kind of work. Farming was strange to them. Growing food instead of hunting for it went against everything their culture had taught them. How are they adapting? Jiwoo asked. Better than expected, Junho said. Once I explained that farming means more food for more people, they understood. The warrior class initially resisted, calling it prey behavior. But then I pointed out that more food means they can support a larger military. Now they're competing to see who can grow the most. Jiwoo laughed. Leave it to Talvarians to turn farming into a competition. Rix wandered over to sniff the plants, curious. One of the young Talvarian farmers approached cautiously. Ambassador, may I ask a question? The young Talvarian asked. Of course, why do humans do this? You have replicators that can create food. You don't need to farm anymore. Why continue? Jiwoo thought about how to explain it. Because growing food connects us to our past. Because working with living things is meaningful. Because food grown with care tastes better than food from a machine. And because we can, so why not? The young Talvarian seemed to consider this. Doing things not because you must, but because you want to. That's a very human concept. It's a free species concept, Jiwoo corrected gently. You can choose it too. Later, at the military training facility, Shin Mirai was conducting joint exercises with Talvarian troops. She was a former Marine who had seen combat in the Belt Wars, and she had a no-nonsense approach to training. Again, she shouted, as Talvarian warriors practiced a tactical retreat. You're not running away. You're repositioning to a better advantage. There's no shame in choosing when to fight. The warriors struggled with the concept. Talvarian military doctrine had always been about direct confrontation. Retreating felt like cowardice, but they were learning that human tactics won battles through strategy, not just strength. One of the warriors approached Mirai after the drill. Teacher Shin, how do you decide when to retreat and when to stand? You calculate whether dying now helps you win later, Mirai explained. If holding this position costs all your lives but gains nothing, retreat. If holding this position costs all your lives but saves the mission, you stay. It's not about courage. It's about choosing where your death matters most. The warrior's eyes widened. You plan when to die? We plan everything, Mirai said. That's how we survived when bigger, stronger things wanted to eat us. We thought ahead. We made plans. We accepted that sometimes the best strategy involves sacrifice. The cultural exchange went both ways. Humans were learning from Talvarians too. Human soldiers trained in Talvarian close combat techniques. Human engineers studied Talvarian metallurgy. Human children became fascinated with Talvarian history and culture. On Earth, there was a growing trend of families adopting young Talvarians as exchange students. The young aliens lived with human families, learned human customs, and returned to Vraxis with stories that amazed their clans. Stories of humans who kept predators as pets, who played games for fun, who helped strangers without expecting payment. And slowly, the Talvarian Empire began to change. Not quickly, not easily. But change was happening. Then the Krillax came. The first warning arrived at midnight station time. Jiwoo was asleep when the alarm woke her. Rix jumped up immediately, growling at the sound. All personnel to stations, the emergency broadcast announced. Hostile fleet detected entering Talvarian space. This is not a drill. Jiwoo rushed to the command center. Captain Park was already there, along with Empress Craven, who had been visiting the station. What are we dealing with? Jiwoo asked. Krillax swarm, the Empress said grimly. Insectoid hive mind. They consume entire civilizations. We've fought them before, but never this many ships. They're hitting 3 of our border colonies simultaneously. How many ships do you have in the area? Not enough. They're overwhelming our defenses. We'll lose those colonies within days. Have you asked for human assistance? Park asked. The Empress looked at him steadily. That's why I'm here. Our alliance has never been tested in real war. I don't know if humans will honor it when actual death is involved. Will you help us, or was this all just diplomatic words? Jiwoo didn't hesitate. Send the request to Earth immediately. We'll help. The response from Earth came faster than anyone expected. Admiral Yoon Taeyang arrived with the entire defense fleet within 30 hours. Every available ship, every trained soldier, every resource Earth could spare. The combined fleet jumped into the battle zone together. Human ships and Talvarian ships fighting side by side for the first time. The Krillax were terrifying. Their ships were organic, grown rather than built. They moved in perfect synchronization, controlled by a single hive mind. They had no fear, no hesitation, no mercy. They existed only to consume and expand, but they had never fought humans before. The human ships used tactics the Krillax couldn't predict. They feinted attacks to draw enemy ships out of position. They retreated to pull the Krillax into ambushes. They sacrificed damaged ships as decoys, evacuating the crews first, letting the empty vessels draw enemy fire while other ships flanked. And when Talvarian ships were damaged, human ships moved to protect them. When human ships needed support, Talvarian ships provided cover. They fought not as 2 separate forces, but as one unified fleet. The battle lasted 3 days. The Krillax were eventually driven back, but the cost was high. Many ships were destroyed. Many soldiers died, both human and Talvarian. In the aftermath, Jiwoo walked through a human medical facility that had been set up on Vraxis Prime. Human doctors were treating Talvarian wounded alongside human casualties. No distinction, no separation, just medical personnel trying to save lives. She found one human doctor exhausted after 40 hours of surgery, sitting next to a Talvarian warrior she had just saved. The Talvarian's arm had been severed in the fighting. The doctor had reattached it. Why? The warrior asked her. Why save me? I'm not your species. We're not even similar. Get help. That's reason enough. Later that day, Jiwoo was asked to give a speech. It would be broadcast across both human space and the Talvarian Empire. She stood in front of cameras with Rix by her side, now fully grown and battle-scarred from the fighting. A year ago, Jiwoo began, I came to Vraxis Prime as a junior diplomat. I was scared. I didn't know if humans and Talvarians could ever understand each other. We seemed too different. You were predators. We were something else. But I learned something that day when Rix first ran to me. I learned that beneath our differences, we're not so different at all. We both value strength. We both respect courage. We both love our young. We both want to survive and thrive. The difference is how we define those things. Talvarians thought strength meant never showing weakness. Humans learned that real strength means being strong enough to choose mercy. Talvarians thought courage meant never retreating. Humans learned that real courage sometimes means living to fight another day. In our language, we have a word, humanity. It means our species, yes. But it means more than that. It means compassion. It means sacrifice for others. It means helping those who are different from us. It means choosing to be kind when we could choose to be cruel. Today, Talvarians showed humanity. You fought beside us. You protected our wounded. You risked your lives for a species you barely understand. You became more than warriors. You became heroes. And in doing that, you became part of humanity itself. Not the species, but the idea. The idea that we're stronger together than apart. That differences make us interesting, not dangerous. That the future belongs to those who can learn from each other. She looked directly into the camera. To every species watching this, humans and Talvarians have created something new. An alliance built not on domination but on mutual respect. Not on fear but on trust. We're not perfect. We still have much to learn. But we're learning together. And to the Krillax or any other threat that might come, we survived our W.